Hello folks and welcome to Linux for Seniors. In this video here I'm going to be talking about custom icons. So if this is not your cup of tea, I would probably say skip this one. But however, if you are wanting to learn how to put icons in your menus and change some of this kind of stuff and decorate your Linux Mint Cinnamon desktop, then I would say hang on. So if you're not too sure what Linux for Seniors is all about, I do encourage that you subscribe and also check out my About section, and it'll have a full explanation of what Linux for Seniors project is all about. Linux is for any age, and more importantly, what I'm going to discuss today is how to do this kind of stuff in a slower manner. Now, if you're not a subscriber, my YouTube site has, I think, around 50 videos so far, and I just started this project in February. All of my videos are longer than 2 minutes, just to forewarn you. All of my videos also have chapters. In other words, like a timeline. You can always stop and look at those. If you don't want to subscribe, which is, it's easier to be a subscriber and start and stop these kind of videos. But if you don't, bookmark it at least. That way you can watch the video, look at the timeline. You can even handwrite down the timeline where you stopped off and come back and watch the remainder, because this will definitely be more than 2 minutes. So the other thing too is, as with any other YouTube video, you can watch me also on your smart TV. And just remember, Linux for Seniors. I also have some additional web-based icons down here too, if you're curious. So I'm going to get going with just giving you quick system properties right out of system areas. And if you haven't seen my video on large scroll bars, if you're into that kind of stuff, then go look that video up. My YouTube site is pretty easy to search. And look in the community tab for tips on how to do searches if you're not too familiar with that. System information. So this is Linux Mint 21.1. I do a lot of things with these machines. And a lot of people always read into it, why do you need so much memory or whatever else? Just keep in mind, I do other stuff with these machines. But in either case, this is Linux Mint 21.1 Cinnamon Desktop. So how do we achieve some of these icons in these menus? Yeah, I got a weird sense of humor. So anyways, these are non-standard. So is the Office, so is the Sound, and the administration. You may not be able to see this, but that's a penguin. And hopefully you are watching this video on a fairly large screen. And I am filming in 4K today. So let's talk about some of the ways you can do this. First of all, we can start off with a menu here. And then I'm going to make just brief mention of web-based icons. LFS stands for Linux for Seniors. So I put a couple of shortcuts here. And if you haven't seen my video on web apps, you may want to look for that video. So I'll just click LFS for a second and click the privacy notices the first time I opened it. So this is the community tab I was referring to. There's some tips in here how to use this thing. Or you can scroll the old-fashioned way. So 57 videos. And there's some links in here if you're using standard web browsers. And this one here goes to Home Depot, but there's a special way that I put this icon in here. I want to talk about all this today. So let's start with where did I get this icon and what is Linux for Seniors and all that good stuff. Well, Linux for Seniors is a project that I started, right-click configure, that is going to be explaining things in a little bit slower manner. So let me get going on this. So basically I have some differences in sizes. If you're not too sure about when you make changes to anything, may I suggest going in here and typing in SC and look for the screenshot tool. You can place it down in your panel bar if you like, or you can right click and place it on your desktop, or even drag it into your shortcut or favorites area here. But do yourself a favor, at least do a screenshot of the window and take the screenshot and save it to whatever destination. All right, let's talk about this icon. All right, so normally you have this icon here under Linux Mint, right? You have this, I think it's this one down here. This is your standard icon. And if you're into just using just the Linux Mint icons, you can choose all kinds. The Linux Mint team put all of these in there for you under this category. You can also pick emojis if you like and be really silly about this. Or in my case, I am going to use browse. But before I do that, I'm going to open up my file manager in email. And let me turn off my hidden files for a second and just point out to the fact that I have an icons folder. There's also hidden where I have another folder. It's called .icons. It's sitting right here. This is where I stored my yellow mouse pointer, radioactive. If you haven't seen my videos on those, you may want to check that out. So I'm going to turn that off and talk about this folder. So I created this folder and I dumped a bunch of icons in here. All right, and I'll make this larger for you. So maybe I'll blow these up a little bit. Okay, if you haven't seen my video on Nemo the file manager, what I'm doing is resizing. It's the same thing as grabbing this down here, you know, the resizer. All right, let's move on. So I collected a lot of icons over the years. These are my icons. This is not part of your system for Linux Mint. But you can download icons off the internet. You can make your own icons. So the Home Depot one is where what I did was I looked up Home Depot online and downloaded the icon. That's where I got that. And then you got this guy right here. So you can, I'll blow this up a little bit more so you can see what he looks like. Okay? And then I'll reduce the size. So you can see that I've got a collection of stuff. All right, some of these icons I made, some of them I downloaded and, well, edited. And more importantly, a lot of them came from just the internet itself. Okay, like I have another one on web apps, a video, that I use these router icons, for instance, for my home router. All right, with that said, we have a folder full of icons, right? So create your own, in other words, is what I'm saying. After you do that, let's go browse for your folder. Mine is in my home, and you can also display hidden folders in here if you just hit Control H. See the dot folders show up? Okay, just a little tip for you. So I'm going to click up Open Icons, and this is where I pick these things from. Okay, so if I were to pick something silly like that Stormtrooper instead of that icon there, I could just do that rather easily. Now that icon has been changed. You get where I'm going with this? Okay, so let me go back in here, or I could just go back to my Linux Mint logo. And this is where the text comes in. I'll chop it out briefly. So this is normally what your system sees before you started any of this. This is for you venturesome folks that want to decorate your Mint menu, for instance. All right, I'm going to browse and go back to my icons folder and find something that I want to take a look at. So I think I'm going to use that one. Even though it says internet, it doesn't matter. It's what I'm looking for. It's just a colorful icon. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is these in here. The size of the icons is very different as far as making these larger. But that is achieved actually with a setting. So you can go into the menu. They're achieved in this size right here. So if you're wanting to look at the different size icons here, and I'm going to blow these up. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take a screenshot of the window. And I'll send that screenshot to my desktop just for now. Actually, not videos, desktop. So now I have a starting point. It's always a good idea, especially with numbers. All right, so I'm going to blow these up. So I'm going to go with category size, let's just do like a 40. And then application size, probably the same. Maybe not, but yeah, well, let's just try 40s. And then the same thing goes with that one. And let's go take a look at these now. Okay, they're rather large. This might be too large for some folks. So let's reduce those down a little bit. Something may be reasonable. Somewhere around 35. Is that good enough? All right. So a lot of times too, when you do this, the top of the box gets taller. Okay. And also if you add more icons in here, the same thing goes there. So if I add this icon in here and I keep going, this box will keep growing. I believe it's almost at maximum. Yeah, it's almost at maximum. So I'll pull some of these out of here. That's probably all I need for right now. Then I click out and it should resize slightly. All right, so how did I get these icons in here? So right click on this, hit configure, go to the menu and open up the editor. Again, this is not a cup of tea for everyone, but adventuresome folks, this may be something that you may be interested in, or maybe not. So the accessory icon, if you looked at your standard icon today, it will be very different. So how did I achieve putting this in here? That's done under Properties, Icon. And you can pick even stuff from the system that are different, like emojis even. If I wanted that cool face, for instance, I can assign that to the accessories. Okay? Or I can take and assign something from my own folder. As in this case, I will go to Home, to my regular icons folder. Keep in mind there's a dot icons folder in here too. So I'm going to hit Control H to show that. So this is those mouse themes, and that's what I'm using. So don't get those confused if you do have a dot icons folder. So anyways, I'm going to back this up. And just go here for a second, and I'll hit Control H so I don't have to view that anymore. And we're going to pick an icon. What did I use on the last pass? I think I used something. Something strange. Got too many icons, this one would say. I think I used that one. So I'll use that one again. And I'll select it. And that's how you make the change. Okay? In most cases, it does a refresh. It does a refresh. But I will show you something that you may not be aware of. Anytime you alter icons sometimes, troubleshoot. Again, right-click on your panel bar, troubleshoot. You can always restart Cinnamon. It does a refresh of your Cinnamon desktop. It doesn't restart your system. It doesn't log you out. Restarting Cinnamon. I'm doing that while filming this video. I did not edit this video. All right, so the same thing goes with that games icon. It looks like Space Invaders. I think the original one, if I were to, you can see the path in here. If I were to just clear the field out and look for games and hit enter. I'm sorry, not enter. Let's try that one more time. Type in games. And keep scrolling. It's this icon right here. It's called application games. So this is what yours will look like. Okay. That's what yours will look like if you have any games installed. And I have a couple of things in here. So if you don't have any games installed, you won't even see your games icon. All right, properties. And I'll pick that silly thing that I had earlier. And I'm just going to use a letter search. I'm going to start with D. And I was looking for that, for Darth Vader. All right, and it does a fairly good job when you're searching, as long as you know the beginning name of your icon. So name them appropriately when you put them in those folders. So I'm going to select that. Okay, so any of these are achieved the same way. So for Office, for instance, if you're wanting to change that icon, you could hit Properties. You can do that. Let's see what they have for Office in the regular. So let's find some icons that say Office on it. You know, you have the spreadsheet one, you have different ones. This is the standard icon for this particular version of Linux Mint 21 Cinnamon. Or you could have that one. Or any one of these things you can assign. That's how you achieve that. So as you can see, there's a pretty easy way to adjust things. You know, a lot of times people will go, if I create a new user, I get my icon set goes back to normal. That is true. It will do that. Because it starts you off with a fresh user when you're adding users. This is for the current logged in user only. Remember that one. So one more time. You want large icons? Some people like them, some people don't. Right click, configure, menu. They're all achieved through here. Now I'm going to put these back to where they were at default with my screenshot. 22 on this one. 22 on this one. And 32 on this one. That's just what I had before. Before I started playing. And enter. So if I close that, Close that. I should be back to where I was, which I am. So there's a lot of things you can do with right clicking and hit configure. So you can put in text. You can even change that to my stuff if you like. You can put whatever. Okay, so. And if this is too close to that line right here, you can put an extra space. That'll push it over slightly if you like. Don't forget the icon size. And then also for some of you folks that want to do an extra little tip, when you open menu, when you move mouse pointer over it or mouse over it, you can select that. And now when you get anywhere near that box, this will auto open. Some people don't like this feature. I'm not clicking. I'm just moving my mouse directly over it. So I'm going to right click and turn that feature off. Okay, that normally comes turned off. So again, these are your category size, application size, and your favorite icon size, and your menu editor. Okay, I do suggest taking screenshots before you're touching anything, but that's just my recommendation. You don't have to. Hopefully you got a good memory. And then of course you can take these kind of screenshots and save them to whatever folder you want in your file manager. As in my case, I'll blow these up a little bit for you. You could maybe put in your pictures folder, maybe a screenshot folder. And then I'll resize that one too. Okay. And if that's the case, I have a couple of screenshots in here. Let me minimize the folder. And I'm just going to grab the edge and make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to grab and drag this in here. Okay, there we have it. Subscribe or at least bookmark this page. Thank you for watching.